All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Zoom session on corporate sponsorships. This was an initiative that my district governor, Amelia Stansel, requested, and with the cooperation of other clubs in other districts, we were able to put together a program for you here tonight, including presentations by 4 different clubs. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Again, the presentation is being recorded. Please enter your name and email in the chat. That way we can provide you with a transcript after the completion of the program. At this time, I will turn it over to District Governor Stansel for opening remarks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ralph. Thank you for actually putting this together, because I'd done almost all but one of my visits so far. And the thing I keep hearing over and over and over from clubs in my district is, hey, we've got to figure out how to do corporate sponsorships. So just so that they're able to not do so many small fundraisers, but spend that time and energy where it's most effective doing actual service projects, and then leveraging corporate sponsorships for the fundraising piece of it. So as I went and visited a few clubs, we have a couple in our district that do it really, really well. And I thought, hey, Ralph, would you put together a webinar on this and invite from other districts as well? So I'm excited that we have such a great lineup of everyone. I just want to give a shout out to my fellow, you'll hear from him in a little bit, but my fellow district governor from 7570, Brad Herbeck, who's over in Front Royal. You'll hear from him later, but it's awesome to see a fellow DG on the call. So also an irresistible district governor. And also from 7600, past district governor, but also Assistant Rotary Foundation coordinator, Stephen Beer is on, and past district governor from 7545. There he's waving up there. 7545 is Sean Sawyer, who is a flamingo when he has his flamingo up in the background. But welcome to my fellow DG and PDG group. Thank you, Ralph, for putting this on, and for everybody for wanting to learn more. Hopefully this will be interactive, and you guys get a lot of good ideas you can take back and make your club experience even better. So with that, turn it back to you, Ralph.
All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and bring up our small slide deck and go ahead and is that seeable by everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Heads up. Okay, so here we go. We'll try to get you out of here in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Done that. Welcome. Presentations, as I indicated, from 4 different clubs, several different districts. We'll have some time at the end for some questions and answers. So to go ahead and get started, Rotary International actually offers various sponsorship opportunities for businesses ranging from club level to international foundation levels, with benefits including recognition, event tickets, and opportunities for brand exposure. So you can see this is straight out of Rotary International. They've divided it up into club sponsorships. Businesses can sponsor a club, their activities. Business can sponsor a Rotary event like a district assembly or convention. Project sponsorship can also be accomplished by a business. And then finally, I've seen it in different clubs where their website has also sponsorships that can be helping. And we will get a lot of that here from our 4 participants. So first up, I've got the District 7600, the Rotary Club of Farmville, Doug Stanley, who actually has an extensive history with corporate sponsorship. So I'm going to turn it over to Doug, and I've got your first slide if you're ready to go.
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Excellent. So yes, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone this evening. As Ralph said, I do have a pretty extensive background with developing sponsorship programs. I've done it now for, I'll say, 2 clubs and for District 7570. I joined Rotary in 1998, and my first year, I was asked to get on a scholarship golf tournament committee. And we had to go out and recruit sponsors for the golf holes and for the tournament. Our club was the traditional club. We had a couple major fundraisers where we did a cash fair, and then we did a gala event. And we would go out and we would, sell tickets to those 2 events, and that was pretty much our budget. And we were, probably in the, I'll say, $20,000 to $30,000 range with what we collected. And the next year, for year 2 of the golf tournament, we raised $7,000 or $8,000 with our golf tournament. I told Eric Adamson, past club president, later became VP of Rotary International. I said, let me take over the sponsorship stuff next year, and let's look at folding the golf tournament and the other events into a club sponsorship. And so basically what we did, if we could go into a couple of the next slides here, Ralph. I don't know if I can drive it or.
Hang on. Hang on. Where'd you go? There we go. Got it?
Go click one more. Click one more.
Got it.
So we ended up in the Rotary Club of Farmville is modeled off of what we did in Front Royal, but basically we set up levels, and as part of each level, you got a sponsorship level of the golf tournament. You were able to get tickets to our gala and our cash fair. And I remember when we first started off, I think the first year we maybe did $10,000 or $12,000. And Brett, I think you can say what is Front Royal up to right now annually?
Last year we were at 51, and this year we're at 47.
So basically 50,000 a year. That has grown over the last 25 years from year 1. And it really, I'll tell you what, a lot of the people that we worked with to become sponsors really enjoyed the fact that there were different levels. And you can go ahead and click to the next slide, Ralph. They could pick a sponsorship level that worked with their business, or individually that worked with them. We would make the promise that we're only going to hit you 1 time per year. So basically we'd have a sponsorship committee made up of anywhere from 3 to 5 individuals in the club. I had started off chairing it probably for the first 15 years. And we would go out and talk to our major event sponsors from previous years that supported club activities. We really went to people in our club that were realtors, brokers. Brett sponsored with his business for a number of years. But I also, both in Front Royal and here in Farmville, I'm the county administrator. I deal with a lot of different companies that work with the community, and I would make those outreaches as well. And so we really tied, number one was get everybody in the club who had a business that could support. And typically you had the hospital president, you had lawyers in town, you had banks, you had companies that were already spending money on marketing expense. Now they were able to ally with the Rotary Club and become a sponsor and be seen. And we would promise things at each event. We would have a banner up and we would help promote the organization. They would be in all the press release information that we would send out, but also in return that they would actually get tickets to events that they could share with their employees, or say board of directors or whoever as well. Or they would be able to invite their guests to a golf tournament. So it really, I'll say, flourished in Front Royal. It made life easier. A lot of our sponsors, rather than getting hit 5, 6, 7 times per year for every small event we had, they would get hit once. That said, there were some people that like to support more than one event, and they would be a club sponsor. And you could go back to them for say maybe $100 whole sponsor for a golf tournament or something smaller. But it really I think elevated our ability in Front Royal to be able to not only reduce the number of asks to people, but also to generate more income. We went from a club that was generating $20,000-$30,000 a year to a club that was generating $80,000+ per year, and being able to turn that back around in the community. Now, fast forward that to 2020, I left Front Royal. I started as county administrator here in Prince Edward County in Farmville. Farmville Club, really, money was not a big thing on our radar. We were lucky, we would generate $5,000 per year in revenue. And so I came in 2021, joined the club, and we started later that year with a sponsorship program. And we have grown it from about $8,000 in the first year to over $20,000 last year in just 3 years. And if you would hit the next slide. There you go. So just like you would see in Front Royal, we have a sponsorship banner that every event we're at, even if we're at a community festival, we're out there talking about sponsors and how they support our club. Part of it, we invite our major sponsors to come in each year and give them a speaking spot at one of our club meetings. It has allowed us as a club to go from, again, 5,000 or less to now contributing over $25,000 a year in the Farmville community. And some of the you look at the sponsors, some of them like Dominion Energy and Luckstone and Davenport, those are more regional organizations, but we've also got small insurance companies and restaurants and things that are part of the community. So it really, I think the model, having done it now twice with 2 different clubs and grown it organically, has really taken some of the fundraising pressure off of the clubs. Usually, and Brett knows, we've got this locked down by October. So that most of your money is locked in. Previously, we'd had those 2 major events, and if you hadn't have a snowstorm during one of the events, guess what? You weren't going to make the revenue you thought you were going to make that year. So it really, it helps us hedge against some of those potential impacts. So if you go to the next slide, Ralph. I was asked to take this to another level. And Ron Mabry, who was district governor, he was in the Linden Club at that time. Now it's the Warren County Club. I took the same concept and the same breakdown of sponsor levels and took it to a different level with the district. And I did it for two different district governors. First was Ron Mabry, and then it was Ron Napier. And when we started off, the pressure wasn't high. We were really looking maybe to get about 15,000 the first year. And part of it, again, was trying to get people to support the club in the district in a larger way, to be able to do some bigger event stuff at the homestead. And, I think 15,000 the first year and probably close to 25 to 30 the second time I ran it out. And I know Brett's doing that again for his district conference this year. I think it works on both levels. But I'll say this, and I went into this with the district level, it was, let me look at companies like a Dominion or a large bank that work the whole district, because I needed to sell that concept to people to businesses that would benefit for the whole district. That said, I know Brett's done a good job with getting local folks from his club to be sponsors at the district conference level. I think they're really, there's an opportunity there to do it at that level as well. And, again, I think sometimes you're giving some stuff back, but, I had Norfolk Southern Railroad, I had some of the larger banks. I had Comcast as one of our major sponsors, because of course Comcast is all over Virginia. So it really, whether at the club level or the district level, this is all about relationships and who you know. I mean, yes, you saw that first slide. We send out a sponsorship letter, but Brett and I were very good. That letter also had a personal phone call usually behind it, or a cover email to make that personal contact. I don't think I ever reached out to anybody who I didn't know first. And part of that is you're not, it's like any sales job, you're not going to get past the inbox unless you have a personal relationship with those folks. But yeah, I think at the district level, one of the things, the second time around I asked, and we tried to get more folks involved, I asked each assistant governor to help out and get me one sponsorship. And for the most part, most of them came back with one or two for me. So it really made my job easier. I was happy to make the one-on-one sales pitches, but again, those personal contacts are so important about being able to help your club or your district be able to spread the word of Rotary, to do the good things you do in the community, to get out and talk about the projects that you do. And there are a lot of people out there that want their name, their company name, associated with the good that Rotary does in this world. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you want to take questions at the end.
Yep, we're going to take questions at the end, Doug, so hang tight for that.
Will do.
Amelia or Earl, can you tell me, has Paula made it into the
Look real
webinar?
quick. This hit list. I do not see. Oh wait, hang on. Under A, I do not see her on here yet. No.
Okay, all right. I haven't had contact with her all day, so I don't know, maybe something happened, but okay, so we'll go past, and if she comes back, I can bring her back. Now, follow up from Doug, talked extensively about Rotary Club of Front Royal, District 7570, District Governor Brett Herbeck. You've got the floor, sir.
Thanks, Ralph. So if you're going to see that there's quite a bit of overlap here, unbeknownst to me, when I said to Doug that I'd happy to help him out, that about a year later or 2 years later, he was going to move on to Farmville, and I took over that role for our club. So a lot of the stuff that you're going to see is very similar. However, when I became district governor or moved into that string, I did give up this particular job as well because of the obligations that I have with the district governor. But if you look at this was our initial letter, and as Doug said, we did. I took a little bit different approach. I'm in sales as it is, so I'm very comfortable with just doing some mass marketing as well. So one of the first things I do is make a list and find a list of who we've talked to in the past, who's already done it. People that have already done your sponsorship typically just re-up. That's a slam dunk. You send them an email, make a phone call. Will you re-up again? Yes, done. So I actually just went through the chamber directory and I started looking for who do I know in the chamber, who do I have contacts with, who do our club members have contacts with, that I can ask them to contact those medium-sized businesses and the smaller businesses as well. So I do send out an email with this cover letter and the different levels, and then I make phone calls, and I'm relentless about it, frankly. I keep making phone calls until you either give me a yes or a no. And that's just the salesperson in me. Eventually I get the hint, perhaps if you don't return my phone call after 10, 12 times, but I continue to ask that and make the case of why supporting the Rotary Club and what we do in our community is so vital to their own business. So in this letter, you can see that last year we contributed $170,000 to the community through our sponsorships and our other fundraising programs, the golf tournament, the cash fair, etc. The difference is that we weren't hitting up that same group of sponsors for those other events. Now, I do have to warn you, you do have to do those other events still, because you do have to give a benefit to the sponsorship. So they want to be able to go to that cash fair or that gala or that golf tournament or give those away, as Doug said. So you still have to do that. But the nice thing is that you've relieved pressure on that chairman or the organizing committee to have to raise all the money in that particular event, because we know people are getting evented out, at least in Front Royal and Warren County they are. If you can knock the next slide over, Ralph. So we've upped our game here a little bit. We decided that this has been such an effective move. We would add a couple more benefits to it and increase our membership tiers. So we added a Diamond Plus at $3,500 a year, and you can see the different things that they're getting out of that. $2,500. Next one is, I think, $2,000 or $1,500. And sorry, I don't know if you heard that or not, but my family's having dinner. So I got to ring the bell. But Ralph, if you can go to the next slide. What we've done is we've just slowly made incremental moves up every year, and nobody has batted an eye. So the people that were doing $1,000, we might have said, okay, this year that same one is $1,500, and almost every single one of them continued the same level of sponsorship. So all we've done is increased our revenue each year that we can give away. And again, we're going back to attach it back to what the benefit is to the community, and then also to the business. I will tell you, as a small business person myself, I would much rather make a sponsorship than make a contribution, especially to an organization like our club, which is not a 501c3, so isn't a benefit to it. But by being a sponsor, I do get that business tax write-off that I can take. So there is a lot of benefit to me as a small business owner. I do apologize if you can hear the background. We are having a thunder and lightning storm here in Front Royal, and my dog does not like it at all. But Ralph, if you could move to the next one. So here, Ralph was asking me earlier about the gold sponsor. There's a big jump from $1,500 to $2,500, and then we go to the diamond sponsor level, and there's not a whole lot of give or benefit. But again, because it's the personal ask to the business owners, they're giving because of the benefit it's doing to the community. Very few people have balked at that particular that level. You can go to the next slide too. And here is our banners, as Doug showed before. Very similar. You can see the trend going here. So that was $142,000. We listed all, and we do actually, this is a pretty big thing, I think, is that we show the impact that we're making in the community with the dollars that we're using from the sponsorship. So we're listing everybody who's getting money from our organization, how much they're getting, and showing that the next year of how that business is supporting through Rotary these other businesses in the area. Again, as Doug pointed out, we have some regional. Exalta is our big company here in our community. LCW is one that's a regional construction firm. Blank Rome is a law firm in DC, which happens to have a member in our club. Wells Fargo, Edward Jones, and then a lot of these are smaller members of businesses in our community, or they're also members of our club as well. This year, as Doug pointed out about the district conference, I took that on. I should have tapped Doug to help me out on that, because I didn't even think about asking my area governors to get me 14 sponsors. But in the meantime, over the course of the year, by providing them Facebook exposure, website exposure, newsletter exposure, district conference exposure, advertising, we raised $80,000 for sponsorships for our district conference with a year-long sponsorship program. And as I said earlier, our club of 85 members and a community of 30,000 with 2 clubs, we raised $47,000 last year and $51,000 the year before. So we're now looking at, $50,000 that we're able to take right from put right back into the community and benefit not only our organizations that we support, but also benefit the businesses by partnering with them. So, but as it comes down to it, it's list contact close. It's a sales focus. I would encourage clubs that want to do this to set up a sponsorship committee, identify this is a sales job. So I would identify those people that are ability to go out and accept rejection, but put together the list of businesses that are in your community that you think that would benefit from Rotary, that have an affinity for helping the community. Contact them through email, through newsletter, show them why the benefit is to them and to the community and to the club, and then ask them to do it. And once you get them in one time, the second year, third year, it's a really easy ask. And all you have to do is start finding new people to add to it, because the attrition rate's pretty low. At least that's what I found. So that's what that's what I have, Ralph, for you. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end.
Right, okay, so just give me a second here, folks. I'm breaking the slide portion here. I'm looking at a couple of chats, trying to catch up. Affected Rotary guns. Okay. First question, we'll get to it later on. I have been told, there's Paula. Hi, Paula.
Hi, Ralph. Sorry, I had my time screwed up.
I'm going to bring back your slide and then I can pick you up just as soon as. For all of the folks that have come in the last 15, 20 minutes, make sure that you've got your name and email in the chat. That way we can provide you with a transcription of tonight's presentations. So at this time, we're going to switch back and get our next presentation. All right, my honor to introduce a really great person from the Rotary Club of Blacksburg, past District Governor Paula Alston from District 7570.
I apparently need a secretary to handle my calendar since I can't keep anything straight these days. I'm in the same district as Brett, and what they do in Front Royal is really the gold standard, and we would love to do that here in Blacksburg, but we haven't been successful. So we took a slightly different bend on it. We decided we would go for less sponsors, but ask them for maybe a little more money. So we started with two club members, and they agreed to sponsor the club at $3,000 a year and sign on for 3 years. So total, they would each be responsible for $9,000 over the course of 3 years. And then we went out and found a business owned by a club member and our local hospital, Carillion, as well as our osteopathic medical school here in Blacksburg. And that has worked well for us. It gave us money that we wouldn't have had otherwise. It was much easier for my club to find 6 or 7 sponsors than to find 27 sponsors. And it's worked well. We've got all of the people. Ralph, if you want to go to the next slide, the one slide I had. This is our banner. We take it everywhere we go. If we do a Pints for Polio, our golf tournament, our yard sale, at every meeting, we put this up. The only other thing we give them besides running this list in our bulletin is at our golf tournament, we do, I'm not a golfer, so I don't remember what they're called, but little ditty bags. And we ask these people if they want to put something in the bag. It could be a brochure, a pen, whatever they have. And it's worked well for us. It's low key. doesn't require a lot of club members to follow up with it. And we're now, this is, I think, our third year. We'll be starting our third year, July 1st. And so now we're going to go out and start looking for a few other sponsors. But it's simple, it's quick and dirty, and it worked well for us.
All
So
right.
if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, Paula, we'll pick it up here at the end. Appreciate it very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Gonna jump through Brett's slides and finally, we've got the District 7610 Rotary Club of West Springfield, Jim Kirkpatrick. Off to you, sir.
That's me. Well, this has been very interesting. We have taken a different tack than what you've heard from previous clubs, although Mary or Paula had maybe closer. During the pandemic, we couldn't do our normal fundraisers, which we had a big reverse raffle, $150 tickets, evening dinner. It was a silent auction with it. We had Taste of Greater Springfield, both very intensive in terms of setting these things up and getting participants. We also did brats and burgers at our local festival. But someone mentioned we were always subject to the weather. It was a 2-day event on the weekend. One of the days it was 108, I think. The other, then one year it was a total storm, blew our tent away, our hot dogs, everything. So we never quite knew if we were going to get enough revenue. So during the pandemic, we did online raffles. We did 2 of those, and those brought in a few $1,000s, more or less. We did an Eagle Challenge where you said online what you were going to do, run, walk, swim, hike. That brought in a little bit of money. They got a T-shirt and a medal. And then one of our members, Joe Frangipane, said, well, let's look at sponsorships again. We hadn't done that. We tried corporate members, didn't work. Our club is smaller now, maybe 32 members. We used to have 45 to 50. So we thought our approach was the first year we had sponsorship levels, platinum, gold, silver, bronze. But unfortunately, we're not doing events. We're doing community projects, but we're not doing pancake suppers and anything that we could offer as a benefit. So we got rid of the levels and our pitch changed totally to, we know you'd like to give back to your community. Our Rotary Club is totally embedded in working to help those who live in West Springfield in this, basic area. And the benefit is we'll put your name on our website with a link if you have it. We'll put a banner up at meetings, and you're always invited to come to our meetings, see what we do. And if you are a company, you can give us a briefing. We'll put you on the speaker schedule. And that's it, because we couldn't offer them tickets at this or that or attendance because we're not doing that now. We might again, but our thought was we're going to replace fundraisers, which for our 2 biggest ones really relied on club members anyway to buy hundreds of dollars worth of tickets. So we relieved that burden on them, that joining our Rotary Club means you're going to have to buy all these tickets at our events during the year. And we went straight to the sponsorship approach. Ralph, if you have that list, were you able to get the list? Now that's our brochure. We can go to that in a minute.
You want to go through the brochure or just straight to
We'll do this first. So
okay.
What we've turned into is that many of our members who no longer have to buy these expensive tickets are now contributing to our foundation. I should say this is not sponsors of our Rotary Club. These are sponsors of the Rotary Club of West Springfield Foundation, our 501c3. And our approach has always been, we're supporting 3 Title I schools. Most of our sponsors know where these schools are. We have scholarships at our high school to go to community college. We've supported 10 Afghan families over the last 3 years. We do international projects, to be sure, and we do send money to fires in Los Angeles and Shoulder Box. But our foundation pitch is, and it's always been for our club, all the money we spend on our projects comes out of the foundation line. And you can see on this list, we have about 5 more to add. We make it a calendar year from January to December, but we were fortunate from the beginning to get an organization like the Texas Instruments Foundation. That's 5,000 right there. Next Tier Concepts is a local company. They've supported us. That's 5,000 right there. Some of these are 2,000 individuals listed, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500 down to 100 at the two in the bottom, or 200. It's netting us this year about $40,000 as it did last year. That allows us to do our scholarships and our core charitable functions. So, and I was looking at my notes here. So we don't do the levels. The benefits are minimum. Our approach has been, and Ralph, if you want to put on the other brochure. First off, I guess there's this, you have an open invitation. We're basically making a pitch that we want you to contribute to those who need it most in our community. We give information about the club, and then Ralph, if you go to the other one, and we have a banner too we put up. We just list everything we do as a small club, and both international, national, and local. And we have a huge Christie's Christmas operation every year that takes kids to get stuff at the local Target. And so I guess the appeal has been, we like what you're doing in our community, and we're not trying to downplay anything international, but we really we focus for a number of years, as we continue to do, on youth. And so that local approach, and then convincing club members, and as we have more retired people who need qualified charitable deductions from their required minimum distribution, giving to our Rotary Club Foundation is something they've enjoyed doing. And as I say, and I joined the club in 2006. When I first joined, I didn't realize how much does it cost to the reverse raffle tickets we're going to pay for my wife and I, and get 5 friends, sometimes my family and other friends. But it was kind of an epiphany, because when I go to district events, people, I noticed the conversation, and maybe Amelia and those of you in your own districts, we were talking to each other, what do you do for a fundraiser? What do you do? And I always joked that, well, why don't we just sell grapefruits? That just seems easy. But then I talked to the Lions Club that had to pull up the van of grapefruits, and they said, this is not easy. Neither is selling Christmas trees at Christmas like the Knights of Columbus do. So for the time being, post-pandemic, this sort of basic program to convince people that we're doing good in the community, your community where you live, and we know you want to support the community. What better way than to give to our foundation? And we can do these things that you see listed. How long? Maybe this won't last. We're trying to expand. We've gone to smaller businesses, those that are opening up in our community, a new restaurant, a new deli, give them the same pitch. And that's really our approach to the sponsorship. As I said, people get confused when they think of corporate membership, and that's a whole different ball of wax, which we tried and didn't work. What we're looking now is not only corporate sponsorships, but individual sponsorships. So it's a mix now of people who want to give. We have 2 people who give. Their husbands belong to our club, and they're no longer with us, but they wanted to keep supporting the club, and this gave them a way to do it. And we always invite them to an event, meaning a special club meeting or something during the year. We try to always thank our sponsors. They get a letter. Well, if they're at a meeting, we'll certainly recognize them. We've had some sponsors come and talk about their business. So that's it. That's been our approach, and thank goodness it was, because we haven't had to cut back on our programs. And I'm envious of raising 140,000 instead of 40,000. But I think whoever said, once you get someone to contribute, they're generally going to keep contributing. And as I say, since we're not focusing on the levels anymore, they're happy to give what they did before. If we were to ask them to increase it, they might do that. So that's
Thank
my
you,
story.
Jim. We're going to finish up here with a little Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take a look-see here what we've got sitting in the chat. I know there were some questions earlier on. Again, if you are joining us, please ensure that your name and email is included. First question, for Mary, where is the information found online about Rotary guidance for this? It looks like you may have gotten it from Douglas. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, correct?
No, Doug answered a different question unless he answered and I just didn't see it.
Nope, I will add you to the, I will add that when we send out the transcription with regard to the sponsorship types.
Thank you, because when I look for sponsorships on the Rotary International site, it's not bringing it up for me. It's not finding it. Might be out there. It's a lot of information.
And Mary, did you identify yourself? Yes, you did. Okay.
Good.
And you got your other question answered from Doug about the corporate sponsors on their website. Is that the one Doug answered?
Yes, he said he
Okay.
did, and I think
Okay.
that's a good idea. Thank you.
Fair enough. Okay. Slides, Stephen asking about the slides. The deck is almost 30 megabytes. So what I can do is it'll package it up and we'll send you a link to Google Drive. And then when you get it, you just ask for sharing and I hit you with the yes, and you can access the slide deck. So we will ensure that goes out along with the transcription. That's all I see in chat. I've got a hand up. Mark.
Thank you. My question is, we're coming up, the new Rotary year starts in July. I'm president-elect, and we had thought about doing this because we had a big fundraiser that had to be canceled, and all the sponsors, all of them but one, said to keep the money. So I decided that this would be a good way to start a corporate sponsorship for the year. So my question is, if we say July and you make all these banners, I mean, that's not a whole lot of time to get sponsors, but what's your, and Doug might be the best one to answer this, what's your time frame to raise the money and then produce the banners?
You're muted, Doug.
I don't know if he's muted or just Mike's not working.
Mike's maybe not.
Oh, no, we
There you
got
go.
you.
There.
There you go.
Here you, yep.
So typically it's a July through June to match our fiscal year. However, and I think Front Royal and I, we always, and Farmville, we'll get sponsors up to about September, give us 2 or 3 months of trying to secure sponsors with a goal of before our first big event to have the new banner done. So typically it's going to be October before our banner is quote unquote ready. So we'll do that, and that banner will stay up, say October till October of the next year. So we'll keep it up for a year. Important thing, a lot of companies that do advertising, they're going to say, oh, I've already committed my advertising budget. And we're like, oh, that's okay. We'll take your payment after January 1 into your new calendar year, your new budget year. So we will delay payments during, as long as we get paid during that Rotary budget year. That allows us to budget and do our donations for the club within that time frame. So I think one of the keys is be flexible, right? And try to work with them the best you can. But it's when you're herding cats with volunteers, sometimes you have to be flexible.
Can I do a follow-up real quick? Do you ever have sponsors also for a special event? Like we do Flags for Heroes, we have sponsors that just do that. Maybe they don't want to do the year. I don't see why they wouldn't want to do the year, but do you ever do extra sponsors just for an event?
Absolutely. Every event we do has individual event sponsors separate from the corporate sponsors.
Thank you.
Amelia, you're up next.
Awesome. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone that presented. This was fantastic and exactly the kind of information I wanted to get, because I know there's a lot of people percolating out there. I was going to ask the question around, I know that West Springfield has a foundation that they're putting the funds in for it. Do the other clubs have separate foundations, or are they going to the club? Brett, Doug, Paula,
Club,
Yeah,
club?
Front Royal, it's the club too. We don't have our own foundation. And we haven't run into that issue yet, where a company has said no because it's not a foundation.
So you don't, and I assumed that was gonna be the answer. So it's not a problem because they're seeing it really not as a charitable contribution. They're making a marketing or sponsorship, right? Is what they're seeing it at. It's a different budget.
As a sponsor myself, that's what I would tell them. That's how I look at it. So, and that Blacksburg does have a foundation, so I'm not sure if they run it through theirs or not.
We have discussed that ad nauseum. And so we're just trying to get organized as to what goes through the foundation and what stays with the club. And it depends on what event it's going to sponsor. So if a particular sponsor wants it to go to our scholarship, then maybe it runs through the foundation. If they want it to go for the golf tournament, maybe it goes through the club. When
So
we
you
have
have
a
Yeah, because
better-
careful when you
better-
have the foundation. Foundations obviously have the limitations on what they can actually spend the money on. So if we want to give money to a family that had the house burned down or they have a crisis, the club we can give whatever we want. The foundation is going to have some limitations because they might have to have, maybe that's not a good example, but you know what they have to give to qualified organizations that have the grant or the fiduciary obligation to make sure that's used correctly to protect their C3 status. So I like giving to the club because we have no strings. We can give it to whatever we want. Although we don't, we have two sets of books, as Doug used to say all the time. We have two sets of books, not we have two budgets, not two sets of books.
I'm like, wow, the financial advisor with 2 sets of books.
Two
That's awkward.
budgets, not two sets of books, because we have an issue with that in our town. But the two budgets, nothing that we raise, none of our sponsors go to club operations. Completely club operations is supported by the dues of the club members. All of our donations and sponsorships go out the door to either the Rotary Foundation or to local organizations or things that we're supporting. So nothing that we do, our dues pay for club operations, the fundraising, sponsorships, it completely goes, and we bring our budget down. We spend that down to almost zero every year by June 30th, which, as Doug was talking about, that Rotary year, because our treasurer will get bent out of shape if she has to keep those books open into July too far.
All right,
Awesome.
let me question from the audience, specifically for Brett and Doug. Would you mind sharing those letters that you have used as your examples to? No, Brett, you're okay?
I'm fine.
You're okay? Okay. I'll include those in the distribution. Follow on, Bob Carolla, do you develop a multi-year, i.e. 3-year fundraising plan, timetable of events and service projects, specific goals for growing dollars? Anybody that organized?
No, I think, it's honestly, it's pretty much year to year, but I've also been involved in building the budget and knowing kind of what the expectations are on the fundraising side. So I think it's usually year to year and it's not strategic. I've seen some clubs do strategic plans and look at long-term giving and I think I've never had the, I'll say the bandwidth to be able to look at it in a long-term plan like that.
That's not to say though that
Paula, I was going to say Paula is a 3-year commitment, if I remember correctly, from your sponsors, correct?
Yes,
And so you're getting ready to start a new cycle.
yes. The last 2 years have been the first time we tried this. So yeah, we're getting ready to see if people want to re-up and see if there's something else that we can offer them that might entice them to continue with us.
But you're not having to tie it with any particular club project or strategy or anything like that.
Not so far, no.
Okay.
It's
All
just
right.
give us the money. We'll spend it.
Yes, all of us. Amelia, you have your hand up again.
I do, mostly as a comment that it is a question, but for those of the people in our district, we pay for the Ignite app for your clubs. You can actually put your sponsors on the Ignite app with their logo as well as a hyperlink to their website. So that's something that can be measurable. You can show them back, like you had this many people that went from our membership that went out to go see your sponsors. So that's something that's available through DACDB. And if you use DACDB, you can also put them on your landing page for your website and on your DACDB, like your internal page as well. So just keep in mind, those are additional things that leverage the tools that you already have that are out there from what we already help you pay for.
Hey, John from Dulles, can you clarify your question? I'm not sure if I understand as to the objections and stuff like that. Can you?
Yeah, I can. I think Doug, I believe it was Doug, gave a extremely good example a couple of minutes ago about if you go to a business and they say, sounds great, but sorry, we blew our budget for the marketing this year. He said something about telling him that's all right, you can push it to the next financial year. So that's right there. That's one objection and the way to overcome it. I'm sure there's a lot more than that, and just wondering if we have a list of that and talking points somewhere that we could share. That makes sense, Ralph. Does that make sense?
I'm not going to try to answer that. I'll let Doug or Brett or Paula or Jim answer those questions.
I think we do have, like I say, our list is not complete because even though we've gone by the calendar year, even though our Rotary Foundation budget is based on the Rotary year, so we get money at various times. And I like the point that for our retired members, they aren't going to give their money until they get they're ready to pull it out for their required minimum distribution. For companies, there are a variety of things. That's what we're waiting we just keep adding to the list. We also have designated funds where they want to give just to Afghan refugees, or they want to support our big Christmas, Christie's Christmas event that we do. When I said we didn't do events, we do events. We do Special Olympics where we're involved. We do other things, but we don't do fundraising events at present. So, and we're lucky in our club foundation. It was started years ago. The gentleman who's the secretary treasurer has been with it a long time, and we do not exhaust the funds at the end of the year. We have a cushion because with our scholarships, they're 2-year scholarships, and we have multiple people. So we have to have money. And we've had members say, why does the foundation have all this money? Let's spend it. Let's do good things with it. Well, of course. But when you have continuing things, and especially international projects or things we've used district grants on, we want to keep that cushion so we don't have to pull anything. Now, some years could be better than others. District grants change, that gets factored in. But I know, was it Brett? You said who raised $140,000 approximately?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. I wondered what's the manpower requirement with that amount of money and a number of sponsors to keep them all, to get back to them, thank them, go out to them again. You probably have an organized process for that.
You'd think so. Doug was the person doing it, and then I came along as a sidekick, and when Doug left, it was me. So it was just one person doing it. And I think Doug, when he started, he had 1 or 2 other people that were helping do that as well, and they have left the club. So the sponsorship portion of it, but then, I mean, think about it, we do probably 2 or 3 other major fundraisers.
Oh, right.
Get the other, but that sponsorship program is bringing in $50,000, and the other 3 fundraisers are bringing in the other 70. So you can, I mean, this just the amount of work that you have to do an event, which are important, they're fun. I think it's part of fellowship and Rotary, but the amount of funds you raise from a sponsorship versus a golf tournament or a gala is just it's dwarfs it. So, and it's not that hard. I want to mention just one other thing, that one of the things that we've done is to try to tie to Rotary a little bit in our themes. So using taking each day in January during Vocational Services Month to highlight one of our sponsors, to tie it to one of our themes. So trying to tie back and give the recognition through the different media sources that we have, and connecting it to the mission and the purpose of Rotary, I think is also very helpful. And it also connects those businesses to our clubs.
All right.
Hope that helps. Yeah.
Doug, follow-on question for you, from Mac. When do you call sponsors relative to sending them a letter? Do you call before mailing or after you think they would have received it?
Usually I'm sending, and we used to do hard letters back in front. Well, I do almost all mine via email now. And usually I send the email and follow up the following week with a call. And it's usually on that call or follow-up email, but usually on that call that I get the confirmation of, yeah, I'll do it again this year. Or I can move up, because part of that is the upsell. You know, Brett's good at that. You're trying to move them up a level sometimes. And that's where that personal contact can help.
Yeah.
All right. For all four of you, question from Stephen. How do you differentiate between TRF giving and club member sponsor?
We keep it separate. Rotary Foundation's on one side, and our club, through the fundraising budget, may give money to the foundation as part of our annual budget. But the sponsorship money goes into the, the overall fundraising pot, and then we make decisions based on where the priorities are for that particular year.
So in Fort Royal Club, we also match dollar for dollar our contributions, our members' contributions to the foundation. There's not really a cap. We didn't match Ron Napier's Arch Clump Society gift. Okay. But it would have taken that whole 140,000. But so we do that. So when you go to me as a sponsor and say, well, you do $3,000, I know that I'm putting that $3,000 in. I'm only giving $500 to the Rotary Foundation, and then $500 from the club is being matched to that, not in points, but in real dollars. So when you look at the $140,000 that we've given, you'll look at the TRF giving line. It's around $20,000 that we gave, because that's counting all of the dollars that we gifted on behalf of our members. But I'm a Paul Harris Society member by only giving $500 to TRF, because my club is giving that other $500 to make me that. So I don't see it as in competition. It's actually, for our members, it's a compliment to it, because I'm giving more than I would have and still getting that money, a substantial amount of money, to TRF.
Paula, question for you. How much is the Blacksburg program raising annually?
Right now, 18,000.
So that's what you said, that's 3,000 per, right?
3,000 per sponsor, and they agreed to a 3-year run. So 18,000 a year.
Okay.
And we don't have any difficulty distinguishing it from their TRF giving or their sponsorship. The 3 members are all Paul Harris Society members, and the 2 of them are major donors, so they're generous to a fault.
All right. Any other, let's see, Phil just chatted. Chatham Club has produced an annual impact report to support sponsor program. Does any other club do this?
No, but I'll tell you what, I think it's a phenomenal idea to do, because again, it shows not only your donors, but your sponsors, the impact, because we've talked about in Rotary for a long time now, the difference between the different levels, but impact is what we're trying to do. So the input, the output, the impact that it's making. And I think, Phil, where are you? I want a copy of it. I don't see you on here. I'm glad.
Brett, your banner kind of alluded to that. So
Yes.
you could easily use that as a start for creating the impact report, which I think would therefore then in turn register with people, and then other people would see that.
I can tell you so that's a great example, Ralph, because one of our members who's now become a very active member and a sponsor of our club, he joined because of that banner. He saw that banner at our meeting and said, if that's what y'all do for the community, I want to be a part of that. And now stepped up, and his business has now become a pretty big sponsor and big sponsor for our district conference as well. So that I think it's a great example. Now, what we need to do, I think the next level would be to provide stories to that banner of, yes, we gave $500. Well, an Amelia Stansel story of our Rotary Youth Exchange student. We spent money to the Rotary Youth Exchange. They got they heard Amelia's story about human trafficking, invited them to come to the campus, saved a child who was a potential victim. Or that is a story that sells and brings in money. Not only is it doing good, it's really good in sales for that kind of story to show that impact of what your dollar did and save this individual in your community.
As I raise the question, can I speak to that?
Sure.
Okay. We realize when we're going to looking for sponsorships, so I've heard of you, but I don't know what you do. There's always the pushback on things. So what we started to do was on the website, we documented all of our projects as we went along, and this is still evolving, of course. And then at the end of the Rotary year, we then get a graphics person involved who can. We don't give them copy. We say it's all on the site. Go get it. And with an agreed template, they pull it all down, and it's a story by project. This is the project. This is the impact. This is the project. This is the impact. We produce that electronically. I'll give you a link to that if you want to see it. But we also print some very high quality gloss copies to leave in reception areas, doctors' waiting rooms, and give a copy to every sponsor so they can see this is where your money goes. We can't do it without you. If you want to see a digital version, chathamrotaryclub.com/impact.
Yeah, Phil, I just opened it up. Thank you very much for that.
Wow.
Additional questions, comments? One last time, please ensure that your name and email is in the chat so I can compile and send everyone the information of the transcript and also the slides. I believe I'm going to turn it over to Amelia for one last set of comments. Otherwise, I appreciate everyone's time, energy, effort. I am a firm believer in getting out there and trying to support Rotary by spreading the wealth and being able to have other folks being up here in Northern Virginia. We are not lacking for businesses and corporations. I think we just need to, and business and local businesses, we just need to get out there. And I'm particularly fond of what the districts have done. I think that is a blueprint as you would use for your district conferences and things of that nature. So one up, Bob. Will any local clubs join together for events or sponsorships, i.e. share proceeds?
Our club did with the Gainesville Haymarket Club, 3 years ago, started with we didn't do it this year, but the first 2 years in pickleball, the first year, and we were raising money specifically for youth mental health. And we raised the first year $52,000 in corporate sponsorships. And a little bit of that it was like, I'll say maybe it was 45,000 corporate sponsorships, and the last little bit was individual players. It was very little in individual players, mostly in corporate sponsorships. The next year we did I think it was like 47,000, 42,000, something like that. And we split it. We took the revenue after we were done, we split it in half, and each of us were able to do mental health projects in our communities. But we went into it with with a strong understanding of here's how we were going to play together so that there was no miscommunication of who was doing what. The two clubs worked together on everything all the way through. And it worked really well. We didn't do it this year just because we just didn't have the manpower on our side to be able to commit to it with another fundraiser we were doing. But there is a model for doing it. And I highly encourage as an opportunity, especially if you're doing an event, is bring in more hands. It's a great way to do it. And I know Mark just raised his hand too in that.
Yep, Mark, go ahead, Mark.
I would just add to that. I'm also a member of a community veterans club that is actually bigger than our Rotary Club. And they've helped us with Flags for Heroes 3 years in a row, and they've done an outstanding job. So I have a meeting next week to go with them to talk about corporate sponsorships. So a corporate sponsor will not only get their name on the Rotary, but they'll get it on the Creekside Veterans Club. And then at the smaller sponsorship levels, if we haven't come up with that number, they can pick either the Rotary or the Veterans Club. And I think this is going to be a win-win because it brings almost 100 players to the game. And we
That's
work on
awesome.
fundraisers together.
One last question for Jim. I heard you've got about 32. I want to curiosity with regards to the club size. Brett, Front Royal, how big?
85.
Wow.
Doug, Farmville?
We have grown in the last 2 years from about 35 to about 55.
And Paula, Blacksburg?
About 80.
So any size, shape club can do this. So
Oh, if I forgot to mention the Moose.
the Moose.
Just to let you know, we have the support of the Loyal Order of the Moose. Most towns have a Moose Lodge. They are physical buildings. They gamble. They have slot machines. They are required by law to give a portion of those proceeds from the slots to a charitable organization. And when they found out what we were doing, we get their charitable donation. This year was $3,500. Last year it was $5,000. So all I'm saying, if you can see if you can connect with the Moose, see how they're handling that requirement to give to a charitable, and put yourself in the running for that. So that's my thought about
Well,
Moose.
it's a really good point, Jim, because I'll say for our own club in Warrenton, we were meeting at the Moose Lodge, and when our district conference, we were doing sponsorships for the district conference. I went to him and said, "Hey, can you help me out? I'm $3,000 short." And she wrote me a check for $3,000 because the law that came out last year is they have to give a percentage, or the percentage is
That's
back
right.
to nonprofits. And so they're all
Yeah,
like, they don't want to put the word out to every nonprofit because they're already knocking at their door. So they're looking for stable nonprofits like ours that they know are going to go out and reinvest those funds into the community really well. But they're not like putting it out in like a big press release, like, "World, come knock on our door," because they don't want that. They want to make it as easy as possible to write larger checks to just get it done and back out. So it's good point, Jim.
So if
Really good
anybody
point.
can point me in the direction of a virtual Moose Club, I've got an e-club that could use the money.
Yeah.
Mary, you mooses for Candyland. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. I promise to get you guys out of here before 7:30. I'm going to give one man. Yes, I see you. You're tall and sweet. Go
You're
ahead.
so kind.
Go
All right,
ahead.
so it wouldn't be a DG like wrap up without giving you guys some things here. One, I want to say before I go into my spiel, thank you to Ralph for putting this together. This was spot on. This is what I was looking for. So thank you for that. I know it took you a little bit of work to be able to get everybody organized and herd all the cats, but thank you for putting the effort in on it. Thank you to Brett and Paula and Jim and Doug. And if I missed anybody that presented, I'm sorry, I think I got you all, but thank you for taking the time to put it together and sharing your gifts with us, because this is going to help us, as I say, go out and access OPM, other people's money. In Rotary, we spend far too much time in like reaching into our own pockets and into our own wallets when we could open up and be able to reach out and share the gift in the magic of Rotary with all these corporations and small businesses too, to say, hey, partner with us. You can trust us with these funds. Here's how we're going to reinvest them back into your community. And so that's what they're looking for, is opportunities for that. So if we can provide that for them, why the heck not? So excellent job with that. We do have some upcoming things to save the dates for. Just hot off the press, like I'm actually in the process of trying to name it now. We just finished our, well, Wednesday is our last one for our area membership summits. 205 people have gone to those. And I've had a lot of people come back and say, can you dive in a little bit deeper on this? So we're going to do those deeper dives as webinar or web type things like this, where we're going to do sharing and time for Q&A. They're going to be 45 minutes long. The first one will be on April 15th as we dive into making our club experience more attractive or irresistible to our current members. We're going to dive into that. We've got another one that we're going to do on Discover Rotary with the founder, past district governor, Sandy Olson. We have Ron Pierce from 7690 coming in to talk about turning around clubs and how to re-engage clubs from what he did with his, which if you want to watch the video, it's really, really good. And then Patrick Longano is going to do one on innovating and retaining innovation to be able to retain and grow clubs. And then also effective new member onboarding strategies with RI Director Patrick Eakes. We'll be wrapping up that series for what's scheduled so far in August. But that first one is on tax day and it's from 5 to 5:45. Following that, on April 26th is District Training Assembly, which is also the same day as the Youth Interact Summit. So if you are interested or you have an Interact club, please make sure that your interactors are registered for it. It's a whole $10 a kid, gets them a t-shirt and lunch and breakfast and all the materials. So please send your kids. But also getting to the District Training Assembly on the 26th. And then the last one on our list of things right now to share with you is at Rotary Leadership Institute coming up on May the 3rd. We still have scholarships available for clubs who are sending members. So 50% off for levels 1, level 2, and level 3, depending on how many scholarships and how fast they go. And any club that sends 3 gets the 4th one free, as always. So thank you to the RLI Mid-Atlantic. So Ralph for putting that on. But that's everything I have for you guys. Thank you all very, very much for jumping on. Thank you, Ralph, for putting this together, and have a wonderful night. Hopefully when the storm comes through to see you, it won't be too bad because it's whizzing through Warrenton right now. Bye, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.